Picture this, a fighter so elusive, so slick with his head movement, that punches literally bend around him like he's got some kind of sixth sense. That was Canelo Alvarez in his prime.
With the jab. Look at him slip all these shots. The hardest thing to do.
But fast forward to 2022 and 2025, and we're watching the same man stand flat-footed, getting picked apart by fighters who had no business beating him. What happened? Where did that legendary defense disappear to? Today, we're breaking down one of boxing's most baffling mysteries.
Stood his ground and got his respect from Canelo Alvarez.
What's up, fight fans? If you've been following boxing for the last decade, you know Canelo Alvarez didn't become a superstar just because he could punch hard. The guy was a defensive wizard. His head movement was poetry in motion, subtle, efficient, and devastatingly effective. But something changed, and it might be the reason he's now got losses to Bivol and Crawford on his record. Let's dive in. Let's rewind to where this defensive brilliance was born. September 14th, 2013. A 23-year-old Canelo Alvarez stepped into the ring with Floyd Mayweather, arguably the greatest defensive fighter of all time, and got schooled. Mayweather made him miss all night, landing at 46%, while holding Canelo to just 22%. After the fight, Canelo admitted through a translator, "It was simple. I couldn't catch him. He was very elusive. I did not know how to get him." That loss could have broken him. Instead, it transformed him. Canelo went back to the lab with trainer Eddie Reynoso and began evolving his defensive game, studying the master who had just dismantled him. Over the next several years, we watched Canelo transform from a powerful brawler into a complete fighter with head movement that would make defensive purists stand up and applaud. Let's jump to April 2013, the Austin Trout fight. This was Canelo's first real test against an elite technical boxer after facing mostly punchers. Trout was slick, he was busy, and he had superior footwork. But this is where we started seeing glimpses of the new Canelo. Observers noted his improved head movement and defensive body positioning. One analyst wrote that Canelo dominated Trout with impressive head movement and shocking power. He would make Trout miss with subtle defensive adjustments, then counter with devastating two-punch combinations. In round 9, he even started showboating. Lots of head movement, shuffling around, making Trout miss while the crowd went wild.
Uppercut. It looked like it should have hurt Austin Trout.
The fight was close, but Canelo's slick defensive skills were on full display as he landed 29% of his shots compared to Trout's 20%.
Some are not getting there, but Trout was controlling the action.
Fast forward to May 2016, the Amir Khan fight. Now here's where it gets interesting. Khan was one of the fastest fighters in boxing, known for his blinding hand speed and movement. For 5 rounds, Khan made it competitive using his speed to fire combinations and dart out of range before Canelo could respond.
Beautiful straight right hand, right on the face of Canelo.
But watch what Canelo was doing defensively. He was patient, using subtle head movement to avoid Khan's blazing punches, staying composed while Khan circled the ring. ESPN noted that Canelo had struggled against speed fighters before, landing career lows of 22% against Mayweather and 23% against Lara. But against Khan, he was making adjustments. His head and body were on a swivel, making Khan miss repeatedly. Then in round 6 came the knockout. Canelo feinted with his jab, got Khan to drop both hands to parry, then unleashed a perfectly timed right hand.
certainly is now. Huge right hand and calm down. And is he going to get up? It doesn't look like it.
That's not just power. That's defensive IQ creating offensive opportunities. Then we get to May 2019. Daniel Jacobs.
Champion of the world, Daniel Miracle Man Jacobs.
This fight showcased Canelo at his absolute defensive peak. Multiple reports described it the same way. It wasn't so much Alvarez's offense that won this one. It was his defense, his head movement, and his ring generalship. Yahoo Sports put it perfectly. Alvarez kept the head and body on a swivel, with Jacobs looking like a guy getting shut out on a game of whack-a-mole. All he had to do was pop up from a difficult angle, and Jacobs was wide open for a power shot. Jacobs was bigger, had a longer reach, and could switch stances, but none of it mattered. Canelo's head movement was so exceptional that he made a skilled middleweight champion look ordinary. He was displaying defensive acumen and showcasing some great head movement, round after round. Sports Illustrated noted he kept Jacobs off balance with his defense, while landing clean power shots. The movement of Canelo's head and upper body threw Jacobs completely off his rhythm. CompuBox told the story. Canelo landed 40% of his shots, while Jacobs managed just 20%. One observer called it immaculate defense, noting that Canelo appeared to be feeling the punches before they came. His instincts were that sharp. Against Golovkin in their rematch, one of the biggest fights in boxing history, Canelo employed head movement that was nothing short of masterful. He used subtle slips, rolls, and shoulder movements to evade one of the most feared punchers in the sport. These weren't wild, flashy movements. They were efficient, calculated micro-adjustments that kept him just out of danger while staying in perfect position to counter.
Canelo comes over the top with an overhand right, lands right to the left temple.
He would lean his head into different angles, making Golovkin reach and overextend with his jab. Once GGG's punches became long enough, Canelo would throw devastating counters over the top. But if you really want to see Canelo's defense at its absolute peak, watch the Kovalev fight from 2019. This wasn't just impressive, it was borderline insane. Canelo jumped up 2 weight classes to face one of the most dangerous punchers at 175 pounds. And his defense was so tight that Kovalev only landed 15.4% of his punches all night. A bigger, longer fighter with knockout power couldn't crack the code. Canelo used this incredible technique where he'd slip punches with just enough movement to avoid the shot, never wasting energy, always staying balanced. He employed blade slipping, rolling his entire torso to his left to avoid hooks. His head was never in the same place twice. When Kovalev tried to set up his jab to land that devastating right hand, Canelo would either slip it entirely or use his high guard to parry while moving into position for body shots. Throughout his prime, Canelo fought from a low, crouched stance that forced opponents to change levels constantly. His head movement wasn't just about avoiding punches. It was about creating angles for devastating counters. A dip to the left would set up a lead right hand. A roll under a hook would position him perfectly for a body shot. Every defensive maneuver had an offensive purpose. This is what made Canelo special. After getting schooled by Mayweather, the master of defense and head movement, he didn't just get better. He evolved into one of the most complete fighters in boxing. He was pressure fighting with the defense of a pure boxer. From Trout to Khan to Jacobs to Golovkin to Kovalev. We watched a defensive masterclass unfold. fight after fight. It was beautiful. Now let's talk about May 7th, 2022. Canelo versus Dimitri Bivol. This was supposed to be another notch on Canelo's legendary belt, his return to light heavyweight to claim another title. Instead, it became a clinic in what happens when elite defense disappears. From the opening bell, something was wrong. That elusive head movement we just talked about? Gone. Canelo stood in front of Bivol like a statue. The subtle slips and rolls that had made him so hard to hit were nowhere to be found. He was flat-footed, predictable, and Bivol took full advantage. Bivol used his jab like a surgeon's scalpel, snapping it into Canelo's face over and over. And here's the kicker. Canelo wasn't even trying to slip it. He would attempt to pressure forward, but without his trademark head movement, Bivol just circled away and peppered him with combinations. According to fight analysts, Bivol's footwork and movement gave Canelo fits because he simply couldn't adjust. Every time Canelo tried to close the distance, Bivol would time a jab to stifle his approach and pivot away. The lack of head movement meant Canelo had no way to make Bivol miss, and no way to create the angles he needed for his counters. The CompuBox numbers told a brutal story. Bivol outlanded Canelo 152-84, and more importantly, he outlanded him in every single round. Canelo's face was red by the end of round 1. By round 8, he was clearly fatigued. He tried reverting to his old tactic of targeting Bivol's arms to weaken the jab, but it didn't work because he couldn't get inside without taking clean shots to the head. Bivol's defense was solid, sure, but this wasn't prime Floyd Mayweather we're talking about. This was a technical light heavyweight who stuck to a disciplined game plan. Yet Canelo looked completely lost. He stood in range, absorbed punishment, and couldn't figure out how to make adjustments. Where was the fighter who had dazzled against Golovkin and Kovalev? One particularly damning moment came in round 7, when Bivol continued to control the action, pushing Canelo backward with his movement and punishing him for not using any defensive head movement to evade shots. Alvarez's body language told the whole story: frustrated, confused, and out of answers. If the Bivol loss was concerning, the Crawford fight on September 13th, 2025, was confirmation that something fundamental had changed in Canelo's approach. This was supposed to be Canelo's moment to silence critics and cement his legacy. Instead, it was a masterclass by Crawford, and another night where Canelo's head movement was conspicuously absent. Crawford, moving up 2 weight classes, did exactly what Bivol had done, but even more effectively. From the southpaw stance, Crawford used speed, footwork, and elite defense to completely neutralize Canelo.
Canelo was looking to be friends, and Crawford is not.
And once again, Canelo stood there and let it happen.
Great exchange with Terence Crawford.
Boxing analysts watching the fight pointed out something damning. Canelo was trying to land single power shots without setting them up with head movement and feints. His legendary micro slips, gone. The blade-rolling defense that used to frustrate opponents, nowhere. Crawford's defense was described as tremendous in close exchanges, but that's because Canelo wasn't creating any uncertainty with his approach. The turning point came in round 6, when Crawford landed a huge left hand that opened up swelling under Canelo's right eye. How did that happen? Canelo walked straight into range with minimal head movement, trying to pressure Crawford without the defensive fundamentals that used to make him so dangerous. Crawford simply timed him and made him pay.
Friends, and Crawford is not looking to be friends.
Great exchange with Terence Crawford.
By the later rounds, Crawford was showboating, looking comfortable, and landing clean shots at will. The punch stats revealed that Canelo only landed 99 punches total, with a staggering 83 of them being power punches, meaning he barely used his jab and had completely abandoned the subtle, setup-oriented approach that made him great. After the fight, Canelo admitted, "I tried my best tonight, and I just could not figure out the style." But here's the thing. Crawford wasn't some defensive wizard doing things nobody had ever seen. He was boxing, moving, and countering. The old Canelo would have adapted. This Canelo just kept marching forward, head high, getting picked apart. So what happened? How does a fighter go from having some of the best defensive head movement in boxing to looking like he forgot it existed? Several theories have emerged. Some point to Canelo's age and the accumulated damage from 68 professional fights. Others suggest his success led to complacency. Why work on subtle defensive movements when you've been knocking people out with power? But I think the most compelling explanation comes from looking at his recent opposition before Bivol and Crawford. Between 2020 and early 2022, Canelo was fighting opponents he could walk through. Callum Smith, Avni Yildirim, Billy Joe Saunders, Caleb Plant. All solid fighters, but none of them had the combination of size, skill, and game plan to punish Canelo for standing still. Against these opponents, Canelo could rely on his chin, his power, and basic pressure. He didn't need the elite head movement because he was the bigger, stronger, more skilled fighter. The problem? Those habits stuck. By the time he faced Bivol and later Crawford, he had essentially forgotten, or stopped using, the defensive techniques that made him great. Former opponent Amir Khan even predicted this before the Crawford fight, saying, "Go back to the Danny Jacobs fight, and his head movement was fantastic. He's even stopped doing that." Khan saw it coming. The trunk had gotten slower, the reflexes had dulled, but more importantly, the fundamentals had been neglected. It's a cautionary tale about the importance of maintaining your core skills, even when you're winning. Canelo became so confident in his ability to simply out-tough opponents that he abandoned the technical brilliance that got him there in the first place. Look, Canelo Alvarez is still one of the greatest fighters of this generation. His resume speaks for itself. But the contrast between peak defensive Canelo and the fighter we've seen against Bivol and Crawford is stark and undeniable. Against Golovkin and Kovalev, we saw a complete fighter. Devastating offense, backed by elite defense and head movement. Against Bivol and Crawford, we saw a fighter relying on toughness and power without the technical foundation to solve a skilled opponent's puzzle. The question now is, can Canelo rediscover that defensive brilliance? At 35 years old, with nearly 70 pro fights, it might be too late to rebuild those reflexes and habits. But if there's one thing we've learned about Canelo over the years, it's to never count him out. The head movement that once made him untouchable may be gone, but the heart of a champion remains. Whether that's enough in today's elite boxing landscape? Well, we'll have to wait and see. If you enjoyed this breakdown, smash that like button and subscribe for more in-depth boxing analysis. Drop a comment and let me know. Do you think Canelo can get his defensive mojo back? Or is this the new normal?